SKOL Vikings, let's win this game.
The atmosphere in Minnesota is thick with anticipation and tension. There was a comeback that completely changed the game in Detroit and set the tone for the next clash against the Ravens, and a few key players on defense are finally breathing easier. But there's also worry after Kevin O'Connell's latest update on injured starters, a mysterious visit from a well-known cornerback, a hot rumor involving a certain star quarterback, and to top it all off, a heated dispute with the NFL that no one's ignoring. Stick around till the end. This one's loaded. Now, before we dive into all that, let me tell you something real quick. Hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it really helps strengthen this Purple fan community. Smash that like button too, because it tells YouTube to share this video with more Vikings fans across the country. And drop a comment, because this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes the Vikings nation. You know that kind of return that changes the entire locker room vibe? That's exactly what happened. Andrew Van Ginkel is back. And man, the Vikings defense just exhaled in relief. The guy had been out since week 1, recovering from a neck injury. He returned against the Lions, and to be honest, it looked like he'd never left. Blake Cashman even said on Good Morning Football that he feels calmer when Van Ginkel is on the field. He brings poise to the defense and makes my job easier. And you could see it. The front seven looked completely different. The Lions, a team that lives off the run, were held to just 65 yards on 20 carries. The last time that happened was way back in week 1. And let's be real, this defense had just been embarrassed by the Chargers, giving up more than 200 rushing yards. Van Ginkel's return flipped the script. 3 tackles, 1 for loss, 1 quarterback hit, and an 80.6 run defense grade. The best among all edge rushers in the league that week. That's no joke. Cashman praised his football IQ, saying it's on another level. You can tell. He communicates, reads plays before they happen, brings composure to chaos. Only longtime fans know what that means for a defense that's been through hell. But the next test is huge. Baltimore's coming to town, and here comes Lamar Jackson. The guy's on fire. 4 touchdowns last game, and he's not alone. Derrick Henry's in that backfield, and the man's a freight train. Over 600 rushing yards already this season. Baltimore leads the league in yards per carry. Translation, it's going to be a slugfest from start to finish. Cashman even said they used Cam Akers in practice to simulate Lamar's style. Yeah, had to chuckle at that visual. But it makes sense. You've got to prep body and mind for a war like this. With Van Ginkel back, this defense finally feels whole again. He might not be the flashiest name, but he's the glue that holds it together. Like the old saying goes in Minnesota, when the defense roars, the North defends. Drop a comment if you felt the difference with him out there. And hang tight, because the next one's got some nerves jangling. And now comes the part that's making Vikings fans a little nervous. 2 key starters have been listed as questionable for Sunday's game against the Ravens. Aaron Jones and Theo Jackson are both game-time decisions, and that's thrown the whole week's plan off. So yeah, buckle up, because Sunday's shaping up to be nerve testing. Jones is dealing with a shoulder injury after landing awkwardly against the Lions. Diagnosis? A mild AC joint sprain. Not surgical, but definitely concerning. The veteran back, now in his 9th season, practiced in a limited capacity on Thursday and Friday after resting Wednesday. Kevin O'Connell said they didn't want to push it early, which honestly was the right call. If Jones suits up, he'll likely lead the backfield again. And before going down, he was cooking. 98 yards on 11 touches. The offense flowed like we haven't seen in weeks. Jordan Mason barely touched the ball before Jones exited. But if he can't go, Mason takes the reins, with Xavier Scott as RB2. Not ideal, but if you follow this team long enough, you know the drill. Expect the unexpected. On defense, Theo Jackson's in concussion protocol after symptoms showed up Monday. He's got 31 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 recovery this season. He started when Harrison Smith and Cameron Bynum were out, but his snaps have dropped lately. Still, he's key in Brian Flores' 3 safety looks. If he's sidelined, Jay Ward's next up, and he's been there before. To make matters worse, Josh Oliver and Jeff Okudah are out again. The hope is that Nick Vannett and Fabian Moreau get called up from the practice squad. More patchwork for this roster. And on the other sideline, the Ravens have 0 injuries. Not 1. Everyone's full go. Kind of feels like the football gods are trolling us, huh? To be honest, this is when roster depth shows its worth. The offense needs Jones to stay balanced. And without Jackson, communication on defense slips. Only here do you get this kind of Viking fan breakdown. Sunday's going to be a mental and physical war. Comment if you think it's worth risking Jones while he's banged up. I'm still on the fence, but hang in there. The next story's got backstage drama written all over it. This next one caught fans off guard. And yeah, it got me thinking too. The Minnesota Vikings hosted cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. for a visit, and fans instantly started dreaming of a big defensive addition. But hold up, it's not that simple. According to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the meeting was purely medical. No sit-downs with coaches, no contracts discussed. Samuel's recovering from a serious spinal surgery, the kind that makes or breaks a career. And the tricky part, not every medical team clears a player after something like that. Pelissero said Samuel's been on a medical tour across 5 or 6 teams, Vikings included, just to see who might clear him to play. He's trying to prove he's fit enough to return. Tough task, especially when it involves the neck and spine. It's not the kind of news any fan wants to hear. But here's the thing. If he were healthy, Samuel would have been one of the top free agent signings of the year. ESPN had him ranked in the top 15 before the injury, with 6 interceptions and 26 pass breakups over 4 seasons with the Chargers. The guy was due to get paid, but after the surgery in April, the market froze. Honestly, I get the hesitation. The Vikings need immediate help, and this kind of gamble takes time to pay off. But looking at our current cornerback situation, yikes. The Jeff Okudah experiment has been a disaster. He's ranked 187th out of 189 corners by PFF. Unreal. And now he's back in concussion protocol. Again. Fabian Moreau filled in nicely against the Lions, but the depth just isn't there. Flores needs someone reliable and smart in coverage. Between us, a healthy Samuel Jr. would be a massive upgrade. The problem? Nobody knows if he'll ever be the same. Pelissero added that every team will make its own call. 32 doctors, 32 different risk tolerances. So even if Minnesota wants him, it all depends on those tests. Frustrating, right? It's that mix of hope and caution. But think about it. If they can craft a smart incentive-based deal, it could be worth it. This fan base is starving for good news in the secondary, and even a 70% Samuel could change the game. Would you take the risk? Drop your thoughts, because the next rumor shakes the locker room even harder, and yeah, it's got a big name attached. Here's one that's got Vikings fans scratching their heads. Could quarterback Kyler Murray be next to land in Minnesota? Yep, that Kyler Murray, former #1 pick, whose time in Arizona's looking rocky. The idea came from Fox Sports reporter Eric Williams, who called the Vikings an ideal landing spot for Murray. He pointed out that Kevin O'Connell has revived struggling QBs before. Just look at Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. So why not take a shot on Murray if J.J. McCarthy's health becomes a concern again? Honestly, I get it. McCarthy's the future, and he's got leadership, composure, and a strong arm. But his body's still adapting to NFL speed. If he goes down again, the roster's exposed. We've already seen how that went when Carson Wentz had to start. 2 wins, 3 losses, an offense stuck in neutral, fans holding their breath. Murray, meanwhile, has undeniable talent. Elite athlete, quick release, sharp on short passes. But the vibe in Arizona's gone sour. Since his foot injury, Jacoby Brissett's taken over, and, ironically, the offense has looked better, averaging nearly 26 points per game compared to Murray's 20. The frustration's understandable. Then came the kicker. The Cardinals placed him on injured reserve, sidelining him for at least 4 games. Now his future's cloudier than ever. With a massive contract and $19.5 million in salary guarantees looming in March, the team has a decision to make. So what's that got to do with Minnesota? Everything. If Arizona moves on, O'Connell might see a perfect low-risk, high-reward play. A talented quarterback looking for redemption in a system built to elevate him. But there's a fine line here. McCarthy needs full backing, and bringing Murray in could mess with the kid's confidence. On the flip side, having no backup plan is just as risky. Classic rebuild dilemma. What fans really want is stability under center. And yeah, the thought of Murray throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson is mouth-watering. But does the price outweigh the upside? Only here do you get that kind of Vikings fan insight. It's rumor territory, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Drop a comment. What would you do if you were O'Connell? Because if that rumor's hot, the next one's straight flames, and it's aimed squarely at the NFL. And to wrap up the day, oh boy, here comes the controversy. This one got heated between the Vikings and the NFL. It started when Andrew Van Ginkel, yep, the same guy who just came back and played lights out, publicly called out a hit from Lions receiver Calif Raymond. He called it a dirty play, and honestly, watching the replay, you can see why. Van Ginkel took a blindside shot he never saw coming, said he felt whiplash instantly, and that hits like that shouldn't be part of the game anymore. He even asked the league to review the play, saying, "We can't be doing that out there." Totally fair, especially for someone just coming off a neck injury. Linebacker Eric Wilson didn't hold back either. "That was absolute bulls," he said flat out. The whole defense was fuming, but Brian Flores, ever the steady voice, took a balanced stance. Said he didn't think it was malicious, just a bang-bang play. Still, he backed Van Ginkel's call for the league to take a closer look. Under current rules, it's a gray area. Since 2019, blindside blocks are illegal if a player's moving toward his own end zone and initiates forceful contact with his shoulder, helmet, or forearm, unless it's within the line of scrimmage before the ball's out. Raymond's motion was slightly upfield, making the contact borderline. But come on, you watch that hit, and there's clear helmet to helmet. The issue's not just the play itself, but the context. Van Ginkel's coming off a neck injury and could have been seriously hurt. Thankfully, he wasn't. In fact, he popped right back up, took a breath, and made a huge tackle for loss on Jahmyr Gibbs right after. That's pure Viking grit. PFF even recognized him as the top run-defending edge rusher of the week. To be honest, the league needs to tighten this up. Players are faster, stronger, and the risk in blindside hits is massive. Van Ginkel's frustration is justified. But in the end, what stood out was his resilience. Getting hit, getting up, and leading again. That's Purple Faithful spirit embodied. After all that, you can tell this team's in one of those defining moments that test every fan's heart. Van Ginkel's return and leadership, Jones and Jackson's uncertainty, Asante and Kyler stirring up the rumor mill, and even a clash with the NFL. It's the full Viking experience, drama, hope, pride. But you know what? We keep going. Because if this fan base knows anything, it's resilience. The North doesn't surrender. Drop a comment. This space belongs to everyone who stands with the Purple Faithful. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go.